I want you to try and imagine, conceptualize the surprise on my face. So basically imagine my shock when Diane Abbot features in the news again. This not long after Amber Rudd resigns. After reading the letter, I might do a stream on that. But Diane Abbot yet again pops up in the news because, yet again, she made a mistake. A mistake that could have easily been remedied by answering the question. But as is customary with Diane Abbot, she merely rolled her eyes and did everything she could to not answer the question, like, I guess, a good politician? Maybe? In any case, there is a video, but we can't play it. Unfortunately, it's on Good Morning Britain, which is a part of ITV, and ITV keep on copyright claiming every video I have that has even a 3-second clip of them in it. To ITV, you can suck my noodly appendage. Honestly, you can do that. You are depriving my audience the chance to comment on how Diane Abbot is trying to mimic The Undertaker by rolling her eyes into the back of the head. Is that cultural appropriation? Instead, you get to listen to me read an article because I can't be jaffed to spend hours upon hours trying to wrangle the video so that it would go through copyright unopposed, if that's the correct turn of phrase. So Diane Abbot has refused 6 times to say what she would do with illegal immigrants in her latest car crash interview. For those that don't know who Diane Abbot is, she is the Shadow Home Secretary. She's also the genius that partook in an interview with LBC on police funding, and she screwed it up quite a bit. At one point, while Labour's pledge was to recruit 10,000 extra police officers, the numbers flitted between £300,000 and £80 million. It's quite astonishing, really, just how inept she is. And I'm going to play a clip of that, as it should get through copyright. She's also a person that furiously blasted Brexit voters as racist.
Do you know, one of the people I most admire in politics was Tony Benn. And if he was alive today, he would have voted to come out of the EU. So I would never say that people voted to come out because they were racist. But there is no question that in the month after the Brexit vote, we had a 41% rise in race hate.
Now, another little thing she did that will go on an ever so slight tangent, but lead back to her. We have to talk about Owen Smith, because Mr. Smith wanted a second referendum essentially. But back in November of last year, she wrote to her constituents, backing the right to vote on any deal finally agreed, even though Labour's policy was to basically toe the line or you're out. For those that don't know, Diane Abbot is an ex-lover of Jezza, which has of course led to many accusing him of being a hypocrite, some going so far as to say it is a case of getting rid of political enemies but not close friends like Diane Abbot, which reeks of more Labour hypocrisy, which was from Tory MP Andrew Bridgen. So now that I've given you a brief history lesson of Diane Abbot, I think now would be a good time to continue with what this nonsense is that she's been involved in. Diane Abbot repeatedly refused to say what she would do with illegal immigrants today, or yesterday technically. In a toe-curling interview, the Shadow Home Secretary dodged as she was pressed to spell out whether she would take action to expel those with no rights to be in Britain. She was asked a lot of times by Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain. She insisted Labour does not support an amnesty, as has been mooted by Boris Johnson among others. One of the good things about Piers Morgan is that while he's a colossal prick, he has done quite a good job standing up for the rights of people and pressing obvious questions from people who will not answer them adequately. And I think he does a good job at that, because he's a colossal prick, which I'm okay with. Oh, Diane Abbot's face scares me. But confusingly she added that it was not Labour's position that up to 1 million people believed to be living illegally in the UK should be made to go home. She also suggested the party would back targets for deportations in some areas of Home Office responsibility. What's interesting about this is the Labour manifesto is still freely available for any and all to look at, and I think we should in a moment look at it, because it is quite clear. In the awkward exchange, Morgan said, "I can't work out what your view is. Would you want to see people of that category and give an amnesty?" Miss Abbott replied, "What I'm saying to you is the Immigration and National Department is not fit for purpose. I don't blame the staff, but it is the department that needs reviewing and reorganising. I'm not going to refute whether the department is rubbish or not, but he's asking a very specific question about dealing with those that are not meant to be here. or have no right to be here, yet are here, and are a drain on our society. Let's face it, if they're here illegally, say they're working, they're not getting paid fairly, but they're still taking away work from someone else, which means they're not paying taxes, national insurance, or anything like that. They are depriving homes from people that have a right to a home, but cannot get a home because that person has the home. It seems to me like it's a fairly obvious problem and solution, but apparently it's rocket science to these politicians. Morgan insisted, with respect, that's not an answer to my question. What is Labour's policy? Do you think they should be removed from the country? It's not a difficult question. I'm loving this question, by the way. Miss Abbot said, what I'm saying to you is that the immigration department is not fit for purpose. That is why many of these issues have arisen. Morgan then asked again, I'm not trying to trip you up. I'm just trying to work out what Labour's view of illegal immigrants is, whether they should stay in the country or whether they should leave. Interestingly, with car crash interviews like this, it is not the first time that Labour has not been consistent on their stance, whereas the Conservatives have been very open about their divide. So much so that their cabinet is split. It's called a war cabinet because of Brexit. Labour are trying to keep it behind closed doors, but unfortunately they haven't agreed the policy so they can talk about it publicly. With Jeremy Corbyn being so high on human rights, and I'm okay with that, I can't see him being keen on the idea of kicking anyone out of this country for any reason whatsoever. As far as he's concerned, I could be sure that he would want them to stay here and be given all the rights of a citizen, because he wants to believe that they are going to be in danger if they're kicked out. Or something else. I'm sure someone else can conjure up a better excuse than that. Anyway, this interview, as you can clearly tell, was an absolute sham. So let's have a look at Labour's policy. This is from the labour.org website on the manifesto. For the many, not the few. How very commie. Now, a category is like creating an economy that works for all. So I'm assuming under that it says, we're going to borrow shitloads. Oh, negotiating Brexit. I'm sure that's just turn around, bend over, and take Merkel's cock towards a national education service. I'm not sure. We already have one, so I don't see what the problem is there. I'm assuming this will be simply, let's repeal all the different types of schools again. A fair deal at work. I'm okay with that. Social security, secure homes. Oh, social security. Labour's track record on that. Safer communities. More equal society, because equal society isn't enough. It has to be more equal. A global Britain. Perhaps this might be it. Let's find out. There's nothing here. Where would the immigration policy be? I don't think they actually have a policy. How very interesting. And if they do, it's somewhere hidden under one of these cryptic titles. You've got economy, Brexit, education, work, communities. Maybe communities. Let's have a look. Oh, we might have it here. Border security. Let's have a look at that. No, it's not that. Justice, prisons. There's nothing here. How fascinating. I'm starting to see why Piers Morgan felt the need to press Diane Abbot for an answer, because it seems to me there is no obvious location for this immigration policy. No matter. I did, however, find an article from The Independent with immigration policies where Conservatives, Labour and every other party stands. So, the Conservative manifesto promises to cut net migration below 100,000 a year. I'm okay with this. Labour promises fair rules and reasonable management of migration and rejects bogus immigration targets because, why, I honestly don't. The party pledges not to scapegoat migrants, discriminates between people of different race or creed, or blame them for economic failures. Well, to be fair, I earlier mentioned one that could cause economic issues. A new migration system will be based on the UK's economic needs. I know I keep saying economic and economic. I really should learn to say one of them. I apologise. Identifying specific labour and skill shortages in consultation with business and unions. A Labour administration will take action to end exploitation of migrant workers, stop overseas-only recruitment packages, and increase prosecutions for paying below the minimum wage. Labour would reinstate a migrant impact fund, so there's no actual policy. This is fascinating. Whereas I go into recording on this thinking, Diane Abbot knows jack shit because she doesn't read her own manifesto, and then you find out Labour doesn't actually have one on this. A policy, that is. This is fucking hilarious. How can you be the Shadow Home Secretary and not have a policy? You are the opposition, you dopey shit. I was going to call you a monkey, but I realised someone might call me racist for that. As opposition, you are supposed to challenge the government's policies, but also, you're supposed to give people inspiration and hope that if you were to be in charge, you would bring something better to the table. Now I get it. You as opposition don't actually have to provide a policy. You just have to completely undermine at every opportunity the policies brought forward by the government. However, your ineptitude, historical ineptitude, makes me wonder if you would even be fit for the job that Amber Rudd was not. And again, I might stream about Amber Rudd. Her resignation letter highlighted something that was rather interesting, and hopefully means that the Windrush scandal is no longer going to be a concern in PMQs. To the Conservatives, get your shit in order, you're embarrassing everyone. To the Labour Party, it might be an idea now to start coming up with policies. After all, Jeremy Corbyn once said he was the Prime Minister in waiting. Well, if you're the Prime Minister in waiting, would it not be a wise idea to put your cards on the table now and tell us what makes you so damn special? Because your manifesto betrays you and makes Diane Abbot look even more feckless than usual. Anyway, I hope everyone listening has a lovely day, and thank you all for listening.
Omegon, I'm going to batter your prostate.
Imagine my shock